some exciting news for you today. This is our last session of the Reading Together time done virtually. Starting next week, October 28th, we are going to have reading time together at Lions Park. We'll be meeting at the Ramada from 10:30 to 11:30, and we will be having a program that's a little different than what you're used to when you come to the library. At the park, we're going to do one activity. We're going to play a game out in the grass. I can't wait, so much fun. Things like follow the leader, duck, duck, goose, all those games that are so much fun for us to do. And then we're going to come back into the Ramada and we're going to read some stories. So let me tell you a little bit about what this is going to look like. We are definitely going to have to be sure that each of us is safe and remains healthy. To that end, this is what we'll be doing. When we do the activity, I will be wearing a face mask and I'll have on some gloves. I will be the one who passes out all the materials to each and every one of you. Before you begin your activity, you're going to use some hand sanitizer or a sanitizer wipe. Doesn't make any difference, whichever your preference, but it'll be there. And before we start, I want you to make sure your hands are nice and clean. Then I will give you the materials. You go to one of the tables that's in the Ramada, and you will be able to do your activity. If we have too many people and we use up all the tables, we could do it on the floor because you know what? It's a cement floor in that Ramada. It's great. So, once you do your activity, then you're going to give me back the materials you may have used, such as a glue stick, scissors, markers, whatever it is. You're going to bring them back, and I'll have a box for you to put them in. Over the week, before I meet you again on the following Wednesday, I'm going to wash all of that and sanitize it. So we make sure, once again, we're healthy and we remain safe. Now, a little bit about how we're going to social distance. I'll tell you what that means in just a minute. But it means, first of all, when you're doing the activity, that if you sit at a table with your family, you're going to need to be sure that your family sits at one end of the table and another family sits at the other end of the table. We can talk back and forth, we can laugh, we can have a wonderful time, but we don't want to be too close to one another, okay? Now, when we go out onto the lawn to play our game, I'm going to take my mask off and I'm going to take my gloves off. And we're going to go out and we're going to, again, social distance to make sure, what? To keep ourselves healthy and safe. Now, once we come back into the Ramada, you and your family will sit together, but you'll make sure that you social distance. You can sit at the tables. You can bring a blanket with you to sit on with your family. That'd be fun. And then, once we're through, you and your family will go home, or maybe you'll go over and play in the playground, or maybe go out and play in the grass some more. I don't know. But it's going to be so much fun. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is social distancing. You hear people say that and you say, what does that mean to me? Well, this is what it means. It means that when you and your friend are standing in a space, you put your arms out like this, and your friend does the same thing on the other side of you. And that in-between space where your arms are, that's the social distance that we should be keeping between one another, okay? So if I'm talking to somebody, I would put my hand out like this so that it's straight in front of me, and my friend would do the same thing, and then we know we were keeping one another safe, because that's what it's all about, right? Okay. So social distancing, real important. And I know you'll be able to do it because now I've explained it to you, right? And we'll be sure that we take care of that business. So I'm excited. We're actually going to be able to see one another. We're going to be able to talk with one another. We're going to be able to laugh and have a really good time. It's so exciting. I'm very glad to be doing this with you. Just a little reminder. You know that Miss Pat loves paint and glitter and all those fun kind of things. Well, we're going to be using things like that, so make sure that you wear something that if you get paint on it, it's not going to be a tragedy, okay? And if you're in the grass and you get a grass stain on your clothes, you're not going to be sad. I don't want you to be sad. I want you to be happy. So I'm going to wear my clothes that I can roll around in the dirt and get paint on me or whatever happens. I don't know, because I haven't even gotten the program all put together yet. But I do know we're going to paint, and I do know that we're going to play Duck, Duck, Goose. So those are two of the things to look forward to. So I hope to see you on Wednesday, the 28th, which is next Wednesday, 10:30 at the large Ramada at Lions Park. So have a great week, and I hope I see you next week. Bye-bye. Hi, boys and girls. It's so good to be back with you again, as always. I still miss us being in the library together, but since we can't be in a library yet, it's not time for the coronavirus to let us back in again. So instead, I come to you, which I love doing. So our craft for today that we're going to do is cloud with a rainbow. Now, one of the things that I love about living here in Arizona is that when it rains, and the sun comes out while it's raining, you invariably see these big, huge rainbows. And it's almost hard to see from one end to the other. They're so beautiful. So I thought today, since we don't get a lot of rain, but when we do, sometimes it comes down really hard, or we'll get rain with a beautiful rainbow, I just thought, let's make a cloud with a rainbow. And I didn't put a hole in mine to hang it, so you could like hang it outside, but I'm going to show you how you can do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a cloud. And if it's hard for you to see what I'm going to draw, I'm going to show you what it should look something like this, okay? So all of our clouds are going to be different because there's no two clouds alike. Have you ever read the book about the clouds? Yes, well, if you have, then you know clouds can look like everything from rabbits to flowers to dogs, right? So I'm going to take and I'm going to make a cloud. And I'm just going to draw some pieces like this, like that, and like that. Okay? So there's a cloud. It doesn't look like this one, right? But it's still a cloud. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is, I like these scissors better than those, so I'm going to use the scissors I like best. And I'm going to cut this cloud out. And I'm going to cut it like this. Now, I'm not following the lines because I decided I'm going to make my cloud fluffier. And you could do that too. So you go along kind of where the lines were, and you might want to make it a little bigger, or you might want to make it a little smaller. It doesn't make any difference because what we do is we're going to just turn the paper over, and you won't even see the pencil marks. How about that? Not a great idea? So I'm just using what I drew as sort of an outline to give me an idea of what I could do to make a cloud. So that's what my cloud looks like. How about that, huh? Now the next thing I'm going to do, because I love fluffy clouds, I love it, you know, when they're sort of all fluffy and you can see a little blue between them. Those are my favorite clouds. So I'm going to move this over. And what I'm going to do is, because it's cotton, now I'm going to use cotton balls, but you don't have cotton balls, you know what you can do? You can take pieces of paper, tissue paper or whatever kind of paper, and you can roll it up and make little balls, and then just glue those balls right on that cloud, okay? So I happen to have cotton balls with me today, and I am going to use a lot of glue. Look at this, woo! I love glue, but then I like glue sticks too, you know. For those of you who used to come to the library when we could all be together, and someday we'll be able to be all together again, I'm sure of that. Well, anyway, you know how much we love glue and glue sticks. I mean, we go through a lot of them every year. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these cotton balls here. Look at that. Now, some of them are pulled out, and that's okay too. You could pull some of them out if you wanted to make them look even fluffier, like that. See that? Ooh, fluffy, fluffy. Yeah, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to cover this all over with cotton balls. And then I'm going to have this big old fluffy cloud. And to it, I'm going to add the rainbow. Now, rainbow colors are red, orange, And actually, you know what happens in the rainbow? Let me move these colors so that I'm doing this correctly. So it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And that's how we're going to put them on that cloud, just like this. See that? Okay. So I'm going to finish putting the cotton balls on like this. Now, I'm going to put the rainbow stripes on right away. But if you are doing it at your house, you know what you could do is wait until this all dries. And then you could put the stripes on. Doesn't make any difference. You know, all the beautiful colors of the rainbow. Once this all dries, you can put these on later. Or I'm going to show you how you do it to put them on now. So the first color we're going to put on, as you can see here, is red. So I'm going to take one red stripe. Now I cut these out before we started today because I thought it would be easier. If you don't have red paper or orange paper or yellow, green, blue, purple, cut a piece of paper, a white piece of paper, and then color it. Color it red and all those other colors so you have the colors of the rainbow. Now I'm going to switch from a glue bottle to a glue stick. But that doesn't mean that if you have a glue bottle and you want to use a glue bottle, you go right ahead and do that. So here we go. I'm going to put red on first. So I'm going to pick up my cloud and I'm going to put the red on right there. Okay? Next comes what? Orange. So then I'm going to glue the orange, right? Now if you notice, all my stripes aren't the same, strips of paper are not the same width. And that's okay. They don't have to be. Because if you look at a rainbow, sometimes some colors are brighter than others. And that's just how a rainbow is. That's what makes them so interesting, don't you think? Is that when you look at them, you never notice that sometimes it's really purple, and then other times you can't see purple at all. It's just so amazing how they work. So we're just making the colors of the rainbow on our cloud, coming out of our cloud. Okay? Next we need, this is my favorite color, green, by the way. This limey green, my favorite. I love this color. Love it, love it, love it. So we're going to put this on. Again, the other thing you can do is instead of putting all the cotton on the clouds first, is put the strips of paper on the back of the cloud and then put the cotton on afterwards. So there's lots of ways to do this activity, boys and girls. And you just be as clever as you clever can be. You figure out how to make it work, okay? I'm leaving that up to you. I'm doing it this way, but I bet you'll find a great way to do yours. You boys and girls always do such great work. And you know the fun part that I always have is when you're here at the library and when I'm with you, is that you show me new ways of doing things, and I love that. That is always so fun for me. Think ways that I would maybe never ever have thought of, you think of, and I love that. I love that, boys and girls, so much. Okay, so now we have our cloud with our rainbow, and maybe you have a porch, and you would like to hang this out on the porch. Well, you can take, if you have a hole punch, you can punch a hole. Let me show you. Let me show you like this. See, I'm going to put the hole punch right in like that, and I'm going to punch a hole. But my friend Eva says, oh, you could use a pencil, and I never thought about a pencil, but that's a great idea. Or you could ask someone older who could use pointed scissors, and they could make the hole at the top for you. So there's many different ways to approach everything. So I'm going to use some yarn. If you have string at your house or ribbon, I'm going to cut a piece off like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little different in that I'm going to put the yarn through and I'm going to tie this. Whoops, whoa, I will if I get both ends, right? That was pretty silly. Okay, so then I'm going to take this, see these two pieces together, and I'm going to tie them. Now, if you're not good at tying a knot, ask a friend. And I'm going to tie it like this, and then look at this. You could hang this from a hook, like that. And it would, you know, if you put it on a porch when it was windy, what would happen? Oh, it would blow it around like that, wouldn't it? And you would have this beautiful cloud with the rainbow at the stripes at the bottom. Okay? So have fun making it. And on a rainy day, think about clouds and rainbows, okay? All right, now, after doing this, I'm going to read you the story. So come on over here and we'll read a story. Okay, boys and girls, 2 books today. The first one is Goggles by Ezra Jack Keats. Now, Ezra Jack Keats is another one of my very favorite authors. Probably my most favorite book is The Snowy Day that he wrote. And do you know that The Snowy Day is the book that was most taken out of the New York City Library from 1895 to 2018? Isn't that amazing? A children's book about a snowy day. So if you haven't read that book, they have it here at the library. Take it out. It's such a great book. But he wrote this other book, Goggles, which is another one of my real favorites of his. And so let's begin the story. Goggles by Ezra Jack Keats. Archie, look what I found, Peter shouted through the pipe. Motorcycle goggles. Archie watched Peter through the hole. He listened and smiled. Peter ran to the hideout and put on the goggles. Aren't they great? He asked. Archie smiled and nodded. Peter said, let's go over to your house and sit on the steps. Archie nodded. They started off. Suddenly, some big boys appeared. Give us those goggles, kid. No, they're mine, Peter said. His dog Willie growled. Archie, hold Willie, said Peter. Peter stuffed the goggles into his pocket and put up his fists. Archie gasped. Peter turned to see if something was wrong. The next thing he knew, he was knocked to the ground. Everyone stared at the goggles. Look at them sitting right there in the middle of it all. Before anyone could move, Willie snatched the goggles and ran through a hole in the fence. The big boys chased after him. Meet you at the hideout, whispered Peter. You go this way, I'll go that way. They won't know where we're going. Willie will find us. Peter raced to the hideout. He sank down as low as he could. Footsteps. The big boys, they followed me. Peter held his breath. Archie! Archie looked through the hole. What was that? There were the big boys, and there was Willie. They could see him. Archie stared at the pipe. Suddenly he spoke. Here, Willie, through the pipe, fast! Willie. And what has he got in his mouth, boys and girls? Oh, Peter peeked through the big hole. The big boys were coming closer and closer. Peter took a deep breath. Then he yelled through the pipe, Willie, meet us at the parking lot. Head for the parking lot, one of the big boys yelled. Let's go. Peter, Archie, and Willie crept out of the hideout. When they reached the fence, they got up and ran. They got to Archie's house. Archie laughed and said, we sure fooled them, didn't we? We sure did, said Peter, handing him the goggles. Things look real fine now, Archie said. They sure do, said Peter. Great book, right? I love it. Okay, now I have a story to tell you about Strega Nona and Tomie dePaola. Tomie dePaola wrote Strega Nona. And about, I don't know how many years ago, it must be almost 20 years ago, when I was still working and not retired, I went to a conference. And at that conference, there were children's authors, and one of them was Tomie dePaola. Now, the funny thing is about Tomie dePaola, he's an author of children's books, but guess what? He's the same height I am. So if you know me, you know I'm not very tall, right? Well, he's the same height as I am, and he's kind of round, and he has curly white hair, and he's kind of bald on the top. And he loves to talk about children and children's literature. And I had such a fun time when I met him. So when I read a book by Tomie dePaola, I always kind of chuckle because I remember that cute little man that I met that day at a conference. So he wrote this book called Strega Nona, and it's a fun book. So let's see if you like it as much as I do. In a town in Calabria, a long time ago, there lived an old lady everyone called Strega Nona, which meant Grandma Witch. Although all the people in the town talked about her in whispers, they all went to see her if they had troubles. Even the priest and the sisters of the convent went, because Strega Nona did have a magic touch. She could cure a headache with oil, water, and a hairpin. She made special potions for the girls who wanted husbands. And she was very good at getting rid of warts. But Strega Nona was getting old, and she needed someone to help her keep her little house and garden. So she put up a sign in the town square. And Big Anthony, who didn't pay attention, went to see her. "Anthony," said Strega Nona, "you must sweep the house and wash the dishes. You must weed the garden and pick the vegetables. You must feed the goat and milk her, and you must fetch the water. For this, I will give you 3 coins, a place to sleep, and food to eat." "Oh, grazie," said Big Anthony. "The one thing you must never do," said Strega Nona, "is touch the pasta pot. It is very valuable, and I don't let anyone touch it." "Oh, see, yes," said Big Anthony. And so the days went by, but Big Anthony did his work, and Strega Nona met with the people who came to see her for her headaches and husbands and warts. Big Anthony had a nice bed to sleep in next to the goat shed, and he had food to eat. One evening, when Big Anthony was milking the goat, he heard Strega Nona singing. Peeking in the window, he saw Strega Nona standing over the pasta pot. She sang, "Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me up some pasta, nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup. Boil enough pasta to fill me up." And the pasta pot boiled and bubbled and was suddenly filled with steaming hot pasta. Then Strega Nona sang, "Enough, enough, pasta pot, I have my pasta nice and hot. So simmer down my pot of clay until I'm hungry another day." "How wonderful," said Big Anthony. "That's a magic pot for sure." And Strega Nona called Anthony in for supper. But too bad for Big Anthony, because he didn't see Strega Nona blow 3 kisses to the magic pasta pot. Well, let's see what happens now. And this is what happened. The next day, when Big Anthony went to the town square to fetch the water, he told everyone about the pasta pot. And naturally, everyone laughed at him because it sounded so silly. A pot that cooked all by itself. "You'd better go and confess to the priest, Big Anthony," they said. "Such a lie." And Big Anthony was angry and wasn't a very good thing to be. "I'll show them," he said to himself. "Someday I will get the pasta pot and make it cook, and then they'll be sorry." The day came sooner than Big Anthony would have thought, because 2 days later Strega Nona said to Big Anthony, "Anthony, I must go to the mountain over the mountain to the next town to see my friend, Strega Amelia. Sweep the house and weed the garden, feed the goat and milk her, and for your lunch there are some bread and cheese in the cupboard. And remember, don't touch the pasta pot." "Oh, yes, yes," Strega Nona said Big Anthony. But inside he was thinking, my chance has come. As soon as Strega Nona was out of sight, Big Anthony went inside, pulled the pasta pot off the shelf, and put it on the floor. "Now, let's see if I can remember the words," said Big Anthony. And Big Anthony sang, "Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me some pasta nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup. Boil enough pasta to fill me up. And sure enough, the pot bubbled and boiled and began to fill with pasta. "Aha," said Big Anthony, and he ran to the town square, jumped on the fountain, and shouted, "Everyone, get forks and plates and platters and bowls. Pasta for all at Strega Nona's house. Big Anthony has made the magic pasta work." Of course, everyone laughed, but ran home to get forks and plates and platters and bowls. And sure enough, when they got to Strega Nona's, the pasta pot was so full, it was beginning to overflow. Oh, Big Anthony was a hero. He scooped out pasta and filled the plates and platters and bowls. There was more than enough for all the townspeople, including the priest and the sisters from the convent. And some people came back for 2 and 3 helpings, but the pot was never empty. When all had had their fill, Big Anthony sang, "Enough, enough, my pasta pot. I have my pasta nice and hot. So simmer down my pot of clay until I'm hungry another day." But alas, he did not blow the 3 kisses. Wow. He went outside, and to the applause of the crowd, Big Anthony took a bow. He was so busy listening to compliments from everyone that he didn't notice that the pasta pot was bubbling and boiling until a sister from the convent said, "Oh, Big Anthony, look!" And pasta was pouring out of the pot all over the floor of Strega Nona's house and was coming out the door. Ooh. Big Anthony rushed in and shouted the magic words again, but the pot kept bubbling. He took the pot off the floor, but pasta kept on pouring from it. Big Anthony grabbed a cover and put it on the pot and sat on it, but the pasta raised the cover and Big Anthony as well, and spilled on the floor of Strega Nona's house. "Stop!" yelled Big Anthony. But the pasta did not stop, and if someone hadn't grabbed poor Anthony, the pasta would have covered him up. The pasta had all but filled the little house. Out of the windows and through the doors came the pasta, and the pot kept right on boiling. The townspeople began to worry. "Do something, Big Anthony," they shouted. Big Anthony sang the magic song again, but without the 3 kisses, it did no good. By this time, the pasta was on its way down the road, and all the people were running to keep ahead of it. "Oh, we must protect our town from the pasta," shouted the mayor. "Get mattresses, tables, doors, anything to make a barricade." But even that didn't work. The pot kept bubbling, and the pasta kept coming. "Oh, we are lost," the people and the priest and the sisters of the convent began praying. "The pasta will cover our town," they cried. But it certainly would have, had Strega Nona not come down the road home from her visit. She didn't have to look twice to know what happened. She sang the magic song and then blew, how many? 3 kisses. And with a sputter, the pot stopped boiling, and the pasta came to a halt. "Oh, grazie, thank you, thank you, thank you, Strega Nona," the people cried. But then they turned on poor Big Anthony. "String him up," the men of the town shouted. "Oh, now wait," said Strega Nona. "The punishment must fit the crime." And she took a fork from a lady standing nearby and held it out to Big Anthony. "All right, Anthony, you wanted pasta from my magic pot," Strega Nona said, "and I want to sleep in my little bed tonight. So start eating." And he did. Oh, poor Big Anthony. Look at his stomach. Oh. What happened to his poor tummy with has pasta in it, right? Well, boys and girls, that's the second book for today. I'm so glad you joined us. And I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Bye for now.